Welcome to Dig Deep, the mining podcast. In this podcast, we go deep into mining news, hot topics, and live interviews with mining professionals and leading figures in the mining industry. Introducing your host, Rob Tyson, founder and director of Mining International and Mining International Executive, a leading global mining recruitment and headhunting agency.
Hi, mining community. Welcome back to another episode of the Dig Deep, the mining podcast. And today's guest is Drew Zimmerman, who's the CEO of Stallion Discoveries Corp, who are an exploration company bred to pursue the exploration of large, unexplored land packages located in best jurisdictions next to world-class projects with singular ambition of making significant discoveries. They have some projects in the Athabasca Basin and Idaho. Drew has a commerce and investment background and has been involved in public markets in a brokage capacity before taking the CEO role at Stallion Discoveries nearly 2 years ago. And it's going to take us through the journey the company's been on and what the company are looking to achieve. So that's welcome, Drew, to the podcast. How you doing, Drew?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Rob, and thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, appreciate your time as well. So wondered if you can give our audience a little bit about yourself, so they know who you are. Obviously, I mentioned that you were involved in the sort of finance and brokerage side of mining. Just wondering if you can give our audience just an overview of your career.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for the intro. And I guess it's a little bit dated now, as it's been close to almost 2.5 years I've been with Stallion Discoveries at this point. But prior to that, a decade on the financial side. So I was a derivatives portfolio manager at a national brokerage firm here in Canada, specialized on the commodity side. And I do have my chartered financial analyst designation in that role. And then it was 2.5 years ago, the opportunity came to jump over to the other side of the street, as they say, and being able to build Stallion from the beginning and really be able to focus on some key areas where, I think a company could have a lot of success. And that's sort of been the very start of it. But it's been 2.5 years now, and it's been a great run, and very happy with what we've done with Stallion so far. And, even more excited about where I think we can go in the coming couple of years.
Yeah. I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about Stallion, about the company, and how it's developed over the last few years since you've been there.
Yeah, I mean, when I get this question, I like to start with where we're going. I think that's always the most exciting thing for investors and potential investors. So, our big focus now is in the uranium space. We've got a large footprint in the Athabasca Basin. It is an area of the world that we think is the best for uranium exploration. It's got the world's largest high-grade uranium mines in it. Cameco has got 2 large mines up there that are in production, producing about 13% of the world's uranium. So with our focus there, we really want to build out what we think can be a very high probability chance of getting a very big discovery. So we did that by getting a land package that's right next to a recent ultra high grade discovery by F3 uranium, and a border with Next Gen Energy as well, which is a company that's going into development with their uranium resource. So the economics for us of finding a discovery in the uranium side is just very, very exciting. I mean, F3 with a discovery hole went from a 25 million market cap to a 150 million market cap. And, companies in our area, and especially the Western Athabasca, which we can focus on a little bit as we go forward as well, is an area that we think is just, very underdeveloped and underexplored. And that's obviously changing with Next Gen going to be spending a few $1 billion to build their mine and mill in Western Athabasca. But again, the potential for our investors to, start from a very large underexplored package all the way up to discovery, and, if they can go incredibly well in the next 5 to 10 years into development of a resource that that we think we can find. And that's sort of been the mantra of building Stallion from the beginning, was getting good, large underexplored packages next to world-class resources. And we did that with our two gold assets that we still hold in the company as well. A little less urgency on those, as both of those neighbors are doing incredibly good things next to those projects and creating some value for Stallion shareholders without Stallion having to actively go out and spend a lot of money on those projects. So they're good projects to hang on to, and especially as this gold market continues to stay in and around the $2,000 an ounce range, they are great projects, and I believe will create a tremendous amount of value for our shareholders, but not something that we really need to push on at the moment.
We can talk about Athabasca Basin first. Just wondering, you just tell us more about obviously the two acquisitions that you made at the start of the year, where you obviously acquired a large footprint. Just wondering, you just tell us a little bit more about that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, again, it came back to the fact that we think the Athabasca Basin is the best place in the world to be looking for uranium exploration, for a uranium resource and deposit. So that was the key thing there, and the land package that we were able to get, the land package we were able to get right next to F3's PLN project, where they've had their recent ultra high grade discovery, as well as being next to and bordering some of NextGen's property. Again, they're the sort of bigger company going into development in the West, but again, thinking that the West was the underexplored area, that we could create a lot of value for our shareholders by going out there and doing the work and putting our exploration efforts into practice. The other key thing that made it make a lot of sense was the team behind Stallion. So 3 of my largest shareholders were involved with Hathor Exploration. If you've been in the mining space for a while, you might remember that name. It was a uranium exploration company in the Athabasca Basin that a decade ago was bought out by Rio Tinto for $650 million Canadian. That was one of the bigger Canadian mining transactions at that time. So the ex-president and CEO is actually on my board of advisors and is a great contributor to our company. And again, it's having guys that have been there, done that, be a part of this team that really helped it make a lot of sense for us. So not only were we able to get great locations with our footprint, we have just over 78,000 hectares, so almost 800 square kilometers in the basin. So a very large footprint, really being able to cover a lot of ground, and we think have the potential for several key target areas that we think could all be potential discovery holes, and again, moving forward, hopefully into a resource. And again, when you're finding a discovery hole or a resource in the Athabasca Basin, the economics are just superb of what can be there. Again, these are very high grade deposits in the Athabasca, and tend to be very large as well. So NextGen developing their 250 million pound resource. So the economics to really have a significant amount of upside on these discoveries is what excites us, and what we think should excite our shareholders as well.
I wonder if you can just tell us, have you started obviously exploration on these new projects? And if you haven't, what is the plan moving forward?
Yes, yeah, we've just acquired both land packages in the beginning of January, so it hasn't been that long, but we did just wrap up the flight portion of a geophysical survey. So we had a helicopter in the air for close to 2 months, all of March and April, or most of March and April, I should say. So that's been the data acquisition phase. That was Geotech, is a very well-respected geophysical company that flew that survey for us. Now that we've got the acquisition phase done, it'll be a matter of processing that data. And we've also engaged with Condor Consulting. They've spent a lot of time in the basin, worked with a lot of companies throughout the Athabasca Basin as well, to really work with that geophysical data to interpret it and find the targets that we're looking for. So even though we did just acquire these projects, we are, well underway as far as going after them and really trying to get our exploration efforts kicked off in a meaningful way right away. And in the Athabasca Basin, with the geology there, we are following a roadmap of success. We're following these same exploration steps that many of the other companies in our area have done. This survey that we just did is proven with geotech to be able to locate conductors up to 750 meters depth. Those conductors really are the roadmap for the Athabasca Basin that allow us to really hopefully get in and find target zones, if not even specific drill targets from this one survey. But again, we'll be pragmatic as that data comes in. But yeah, definitely getting out there and getting to work right away, not wasting any time.
What would you say the roadmap is within the basin moving forward? I suppose looking at an area view over the maybe 5-10 years in advance.
Yeah, I mean, for us, obviously, first and foremost is prioritizing target areas and drill targeting. So being able to take the data that we're just getting from the survey we've done to either have a focused area and or if we're able to a specific enough drill target. But most likely, again, we flew our survey at a 200-meter line spacing. So most likely needing to go back with an additional geophysical survey that is a little tighter spaced, a little bit more intense on a very much smaller area. Again, we flew 800 square kilometers, so it's a pretty big area to be covering, and needing to focus in on a couple areas to then get into our drill targeting. We'll move forward with permitting and targeting once we have those locations set, and then the idea is just to have that discovery hole. Once you have a discovery hole, again, depending on the grades and the widths that you're hitting with that discovery hole, doing the additional step out drilling to try and build out a resource and understand how big that potential resource can be. Again, we've seen several companies do that. We've seen Fission, F3 Uranium's doing that as we speak, and NextGen obviously has done that as well. And now NextGen and Fission both taking that next stage to move into development. But again, as you can see, I mean, NextGen's about a $2.5 billion market cap company as they start to move their project forward into development. So, it does take time in mining. And I mean, we think the uranium market's going to be a great place to be over the coming decade as we see just a big supply demand mismatch as more and more reactors are getting built. And even with these new discoveries and new developments getting built out, they still take a considerable amount of time to come to the market. So, that gives us what we think is a pretty good runway over the next 5 to 10 years to, hopefully be able to have a discovery and build out a resource of our own.
Yeah. What would you say some of the challenges that you may be facing as a business, whether that's in the uranium sector or the Athabasca Basin? What challenges are you facing as a company?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think the uranium as a sector has been a great sector to be in. I think everybody in the uranium space right now, I mean, outside of Germany, we see most countries around the world really doing an about face or continuing to build on their uranium build outs. It really does seem to be, the clear path forward if we're looking to get to net zero by 2050. As a stable baseload, no CO2 emitting power source. So the uranium side, I think, is incredibly strong. Obviously, some geopolitical events have some bottlenecks in the processing and upgrading of uranium to getting it to the fuel level stage. But again, I think we're seeing some nationalization of commodities and critical minerals sort of across the board, not just in the uranium space, and that is all the way through to processing as well. So I think we see that get alleviated in the coming couple of years. And again, I think that'll just be building out that industry in a few different countries where, most of that processing on the uranium side is done in Russia right now. And obviously the conflict between Russia and Ukraine making that more of an issue. than it ever has been before. So the uranium specific side, I think, again, a lot of tailwinds going with us. If there's any going to be challenges, it's always sort of the general market conditions. We are a junior exploration company that, funds itself in the capital markets, and that means investors have to have the willingness to take risk on exploration companies that are going out there to do the work that we're doing. It is a risky business. It isn't easy, but the rewards can be well worth it if we find what we think we can find. And again, that's where having the strategy in place and the steps to follow that we have, we think gives us that edge, and hopefully gives our investors the confidence that we think we can do what we say we can do, and get out there and make that discovery that, again, can have pretty significant ramifications for them, given the economics, especially in the Athabasca Basin. So it's a little bit dicey out there, obviously, with rates being as high as they are and the banking crisis and so on and so forth. But I hope that investors still see the potential in all the work that we're doing, and given any economic slowdown, we think the uranium sector is actually going to be one of the few that can continue to do very well, and therefore a sector of the market that should hold up relatively well compared to others. And again, a little edge of also having two great gold assets is one of the other key resource sectors that seems to be doing quite well if things get a little bit dicey on the capital markets front.
Yeah, certainly. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about those gold assets, and a little bit more about them, and what you're planning to do moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So the gold assets are what Stallion started with. We started with a key asset in central Idaho. We're right next to Perpetua Resources. We share our entire eastern border with them, their western border, and they've got forest and wilderness all around them. So if there was going to be any expansion on the Perpetua side, it would have to kind of come out through where our project is. But again, the Perpetua project itself is, just a tremendous gold asset in North America. It's got over 6 million ounces of gold in the ground. It's got 1 million ounces of historically mined gold. They've also been a huge tungsten producer and have the potential to mine about 35% of the U.S. Antimony needs. Right now, the United States has no antimony production of its own. So again, as we just talked about, critical minerals and certain commodities really needing that national production and processing. So that would be a great thing for the United States to be able to move this project forward. Obviously, the economics on the gold side are pretty tremendous. They've got a good low AISC cost on the project. So if they continue to move that through permitting like we think they are, and if they get a final record of decision, which they're hoping to get by the beginning of next year, we think that does a lot for our project. So our project, we've done some geochemical, some soil samples, as well as geophysical work to show that we've got a 2.8 kilometer strike length with anomalous gold. We've got historical drilling there from the late 80s that had over 1.5 ton gold over 35 meters. So we have pretty high confidence that there's a great shallow oxide gold target there. But as we've sort of been moving forward, we've been doing so trying to gauge the prospects of and timing of Perpetua moving forward. So we are working towards a drill permit for a 12-month drill plan with 19 drill pads. We're still in that permitting phase with the U.S. Forest Service, but moving that forward. But really waiting till we get some confidence and again, some further value with Perpetua getting a go-ahead. We think our drill results will be worth that much more. If the mine and mill next door are approved to get built, we can do a lot more with our money drilling at that time. So it's again a great project in the central of Idaho, right next to an absolute world-class resource. But again, allowing our neighbor to do the work that they're doing to create some value for us on that project.
Can you tell us the company's financial and cash position?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I guess before we get there, I'll touch on our Nevada gold asset as well. It's been a tremendous story. over the last year or so. We optioned that out of EMX Royalty about a year ago now, right next to I-80 Gold. So it's right at the south end of the Eureka Battle Mountain trend in Nevada. And since we got that option, I-80's done a lot of drilling, and it seems like almost every drill hole they put in the ground has just great results. So not only are they going to be expanding their underground gold resource, they already have 7.5 million ounces in the ground there, and they will be updating that resource this year. They've also found new CRD polymetallic targets just south and to the east of where their old pit was. It was an old barrack pit that produced 1.5 million ounces of gold. They just acquired Paycore. It was the company just to the south of them for roughly 105 million Canadian dollars in shares, in I-80 shares. And our project is just to the east. So there's a big intrusion right between our two projects. And that's sort of the big thesis behind us picking up that project, was we think that big intrusion is a key mineralizing event in the area. They've got one side, we've got the other side of it. It sort of splits our two projects. So if we can mirror any of the mineralization that they have on their side, on our side, we think the potential for I-80 to make this an even bigger district play is definitely there. Obviously, with their recent expansion to the south, they do have some intent to build out the project already. So really excited about that, and we are going to be doing some geophysics down there later this year to really work on our targeting and hopefully be able to prove up some of that thesis about having the same style of mineralization on our property that they have right next door. But again, with the amount of drilling, they've got 5 active drill rigs right now. We continue to learn more about the area, more about the geology, without spending that money ourselves. So continuing to allow our neighbor that has gone from a 300 million market cap to almost a 900 million market cap over the last year, do that work for us and continue to educate us goes a long way and creates a lot of value for that project without us having to spend a lot of dollars on it.
And so, going back to financial and cash position of the company.
Yes. So we've just released our audited financial statements for the year end of 2022. We came into the year with 1.6 million Canadian. 700 was spent on the acquisition of the uranium assets that we own outright. And then we did a 4 million non-brokered private placement in February of this year. So that added to our cash position. So we're in pretty good shape now with the work that we've already kicked off in the Athabasca. We've still got about 2.75 million in the bank right now. Continuing to be able to do the exploration work that we want to do near term, both in the US and in the Athabasca, but definitely the heavier focus in the Athabasca, and a cash position that still does allow us to look around. I mean, this is, again, a tougher capital market environment. We raised the capital when we did at a very, very good time when the markets were a little more optimistic to start this year. And now that things have gotten to be a little less optimistic in the last couple of months, the potential on some corporate development could be there in the Athabasca as well. And we've got the capital to be able to take advantage of that.
And lastly, just wondering, give us the outlook, the next sort of six to 12 months outlook for the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So across our projects, as we touched on in the Athabasca, obviously hard at work there. We'll be doing the processing and the interpretation of our geophysical data to be able to get target zones at the very least, if not drill targets. Be able to do some follow-up work on those key target zones and be able to then get into drill permitting and get ourselves set up. And if all goes well, being able to use the winter when things freeze over to be able to mobilize some drill crews to get out there and get some exploration drilling done to test a few of those target areas. That would be ideal. Again, as mentioned, also looking at potential corporate development of doing more work in the Athabasca Basin. We think we're in a good position to be able to do that even though we're newer in the area, being able to have the capital behind us to be able to step out there and do some more would be exciting for us in the coming several months. And then in the gold side of things, continuing to advance both of those projects. Down in Nevada, we are looking to do some geophysical for some targeting there. And in Idaho, we'll be continuing to, advance our drill permit there to be able to get that completed and have that in hand, while at the same time looking to do some secondary targeting work, other target areas of the property. And again, we had some historical antimony production on our property as well. So targeting that area as a key secondary area that had good gold grades, but also antimony as well, is a good way to continue to progress those projects without spending a lot of money and allow those neighbors to really create a lot of value for us is the key focus on the gold assets. And again, a lot of our time, effort, energy, and capital being directed to the uranium assets in Saskatchewan.
Drew, really appreciate your time and give us an update on Stallion Discoveries. Wish you obviously well for the remainder of this year. If our audience wants to reach out to you, if they've got any questions that they want to ask you, how can they go about doing that? How can they follow the story as well? Maybe across social media. What platforms are you on?
Yeah, exactly. We've got our social media platforms out there. If you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, we try and keep investors and potential investors updated there. If you sign up to on our website, you'll get our news emailed directly to you, so you don't have to try and find it as it goes out. And when you sign up there, we'll also follow up with the potential to set up a call with myself if you'd like to do that. And again, on our website, we've got our main email address there is info@stalliondiscoveries.com. If you reach out there, one of our team members will get back to you and or be able to connect you to myself if you've got any follow-up questions. So always happy to engage, but yeah, the socials are the easiest way to follow the story and getting some photos and videos that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I appreciate your time and obviously good luck for the remainder of the year. We'll include the show notes, the socials in the show notes accompany this podcast for easy access for our audience to reach out to you. Obviously, you've got an exciting project there in the Athabasca Basin, and especially obviously in uranium, which I know uranium is very strong up there in the Athabasca Basin. So yeah, good luck with the project. For those that are listening, hope you enjoyed that episode. Please keep sharing the podcast to people within the mining industry and obviously people outside of the mining industry. I think uranium is an asset, or shall I say a commodity to watch. And obviously, as Drew explained, they've got a good project there that they're starting off. So please appreciate you continuing to share these episodes within the mining community, but also outside. So until next time, happy mining.
Thank you for listening. Remember to reach out to Rob via the show notes and be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, happy mining, helping each other to improve the mining industry.